A 68-year-old patient once came to my office and said, "Doctor, I've been doing the same thing for over 40 years, but lately, something just doesn't feel right." He wasn't sick, hadn't started any new medications, but what was silently harming his body was masturbation. Not the act itself, but the way he was doing it. And he had no idea it was affecting his heart, his prostate, and even his ability to feel pleasure. I'm Dr. Beatriz Tavares, a urologist with over 15 years of experience caring for the intimate health of men over 60, helping you maintain strength, circulation, and confidence, without shame, without relying solely on medications, and without endless trial and error. You've probably heard it's healthy, right? But after 60, some intimate habits can silently become harmful with no obvious warning signs. In this video, I'll reveal 7 mistakes that mature men make during masturbation and how to correct each one before they affect your energy, performance, or long-term health. And look, mistake number 6 is the one almost everyone makes without realizing it. Ready to dive in? Before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that red button below and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next tips tailored especially for you if you're over 60. And if this video makes sense to you, type a 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type a 0. Your feedback helps me create even better content. Now let's jump into the first mistake. Something that's become increasingly common in recent years and is silently changing how your brain and body respond to pleasure. Mistake 1. Using pornography as the main stimulus. Over these 15 years in practice, countless men, usually in their late 60s or early 70s, have sat across from me with the same discreet concern. "Doctor, it feels like I don't feel much anymore. It's like my body is going numb, and I don't know why." Almost always, I ask a simple question. How often do you rely on pornography? And most of the time, their eyes drop. Not out of shame, but because they never imagined it could cause real damage. Look, after 60, the brain's dopamine system, the one responsible for pleasure and motivation, isn't as sharp or flexible as it used to be. Watching endless clips of adult content, with all that speed and intensity, floods the brain with more stimuli than it was designed to handle. And when this repeats day after day, week after week, the brain adapts in the worst possible way. It starts to numb itself. That means what you used to enjoy, that natural spark of intimacy, begins to fade. The touch doesn't feel the same. The body doesn't respond as quickly. And even if you're physically healthy, your ability to truly connect and feel something real slips away in silence. The saddest part is that many older men blame themselves. They think they've lost it because of age, but in reality, it's not the age, it's the overstimulation. And if you don't rewire your brain's response system, this numbness can linger for years, even decades. So if you've noticed a drop in sensitivity, connection, or satisfaction, don't ignore it. This first mistake could be the hidden reason behind it all. And the most surprising thing, the next mistake isn't about what you watch, but where you do it, and how that environment silently harms your body in ways most people never notice. Mistake 2. Masturbating while sitting on the toilet. This might seem harmless at first, maybe even convenient, right? Over the years, I've talked to many men who quietly admit that the bathroom has become their private space, not just for hygiene, but for relief, too. It's where no one interrupts, the door locks, and routines feel safe. But what most don't realize is that masturbating while sitting, especially on the toilet, does far more harm than they imagine. As we age, protecting circulation becomes crucial. Blood flow is the foundation of healthy sexual function, prostate well-being, and even recovery after climax. Sitting for long periods, especially in that hunched, cramped posture many adopt on the toilet, restricts flow to the pelvic area, pressures the prostate, tenses the pelvic floor, and subtly damages nerves that are already more fragile with age. I've seen this pattern clearly. Men in their late 60s and 70s develop swelling after urinating, that annoying dribbling, difficulty fully emptying the bladder, or even groin pain, and they never connect it to this private habit. But as a urologist who's analyzed hundreds of exams, heard countless stories, and tracked outcomes, I can tell you, this seemingly innocent position can start a slow chain reaction that, over time, worsens everything from intimate health to daily comfort. The solution isn't complicated. It's about awareness. If this sounds familiar, consider changing your environment. Stand up, recline in a comfortable spot. Give your pelvic area room to breathe and circulate properly. Believe me, your prostate is silently begging you to stop squeezing it like that. If you found this mistake surprising, wait until you hear the next one. It's something most older men do without realizing, and it secretly reprograms the body to feel less pleasure with every attempt. Mistake 3. Rushing the experience. One of the most common habits I observe, especially in those who've spent decades under stress with hectic routines or simply learned to keep everything quick and quiet, is rushing during masturbation. They treat it like a task to check off, a moment to get over with fast, instead of something to fully feel. But here's the problem. After 60, the body doesn't function well under pressure, whether physical or emotional. I've had patients say, "Doctor, I just want to finish quickly. I don't have time to prolong it." But by rushing, you put your nervous system in a state of tension. Your heart rate spikes too fast, blood vessels constrict, and the relaxing hormonal benefits of orgasm, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, don't reach their full potential. You might even climax, but your body doesn't get the true reward. Instead of feeling satisfied, you feel emptier. Instead of energized, you're drained. Worse, this pattern of haste teaches your body that pleasure is quick, shallow, and disconnected. Over time, you lose sensitivity, can't sustain arousal properly, struggle to stay interested with a partner, and think it's just age. But it's not. It's the habit of urgency, silently stealing something far more powerful than a few minutes of relief. So, slow down. Make every moment intentional. Your body is still capable of deep sensations. If you give it space to feel, breathe, pause, there's no finish line here, just presence. Speaking of presence, most men don't even realize they're neglecting one of the most important muscle groups in the male body, a hidden system that controls everything from erection strength to bladder control. That's next. And once you understand it, everything in your sexual health could change. Mistake 4. Ignoring the pelvic floor. Most men have never even heard of it. Yet, the pelvic floor is one of the most vital parts of the body, especially after 60. It's like the foundation holding up the bladder, prostate, and sexual organs, the hidden engine powering everything from erections to orgasms and urinary control. When this muscle group is weak or neglected, everything starts to suffer, silently but deeply. I remember a man in his late 60s, a former athlete and proud father who came in complaining of a drop in sexual performance. "Doctor," he said, "I eat well, I exercise, but something just isn't working anymore." What he didn't realize was that his pelvic floor, once strong and active in his youth, had gone dormant from years of sitting, accumulating tension in the lower abdomen, and ignoring that area left him disconnected and facing real difficulties. When you masturbate without engaging the pelvic floor, or worse, by forcing and applying too much pressure, you put unnecessary strain on the prostate and weaken the very muscles meant to support it. Over time, this leads to leaks, dribbling, poorer erection quality, and less sensation during climax. It doesn't happen overnight. It installs itself silently, year after year. The good news? It's totally possible to reactivate these muscles. Gently contracting the area you'd use to stop a urine stream during arousal builds awareness and strength. Over time, this simple habit can restore not just physical function, but confidence too. Lots of people ask in the comments how to do this right, and I'll make a specific video on practical pelvic floor exercises. If you want that content, drop a yes below. And speaking of confidence, too much or too little activity in this area of your life can throw the whole system off balance. It might surprise you to know that how often you touch yourself plays a bigger role than you think. Let's break it down. Mistake 5. Too high or too low frequency. This is a topic many men hesitate to discuss. Some fear they're doing it too much. Others quietly wonder if going too long without is okay. Amid shame, confusion, and outdated advice, many over 60 end up on a lonely, uncertain path. And honestly, I get tons of messages asking exactly this. Doctor, how many times is normal? What I see in practice is this. Both extremes can cause harm. When a man masturbates too frequently, out of habit, boredom, or unresolved emotions, the body often can't keep up. Energy drops, prostate tissue gets irritated, and over time, recovery takes longer or interest in real intimacy fades. It becomes less about desire and more about routine, dulling the nervous system and draining vitality. On the other extreme, some stop completely due to medications, health issues, religious guilt, or the belief they're too old now. By the way, many ask about religion and sexuality, and I always say, caring for your sexual health isn't a sin, it's health. What they don't realize is that the body, like any system, needs regular circulation. Sexual arousal, even without orgasm, helps maintain blood flow to the genitals, nourishes nerve endings, and preserves erectile strength. When that's absent for too long, atrophy sets in, desire wanes, and the door to physical and emotional connection starts closing without warning. There's no perfect number, but for most men over 60, 1 to 2 times a week, done with presence and care, is a good balance. It keeps circulation going, restores hormonal rhythm, and keeps the system alive without exhaustion. Remember, it's not about rigid rules. Listen to your body. As we age, it speaks more softly. And even when frequency is right, one common mistake can undo all that progress. It's something most do instinctively, without realizing it's damaging nerves and even changing the shape of the penis. More on that next. Mistake 6. Using too much pressure or force. This is one of the most overlooked and damaging mistakes I see in older men. I've lost count of how many patients have sat across from me, frustrated and confused, saying things like, "Doctor, it doesn't feel like it used to," or "It's taking more effort than ever." Behind those words is often a silent habit they never thought twice about, using too much pressure when touching themselves. I get it completely. As sensitivity decreases with age, the natural response is to grip tighter, press harder, or try to recreate lost sensations with intensity. But here's the truth your body is trying to tell you. Force doesn't restore feeling. It destroys it. The nerves in the penis are delicate, especially in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Years of aggressive friction, tight grips, or using objects and surfaces that apply excessive force can cause real physical damage, micro tears in the tissue, loss of elasticity, even internal scarring that leads to curvature, reduced blood flow, and pain during arousal. It's not just uncomfortable. It can permanently alter anatomy. This kind of trauma is a silent thief. It doesn't appear overnight. It builds slowly. By the time you notice the difference, the damage is well advanced. I've had patients develop Peyronie's disease from prolonged habits like this. And there's another layer. When a man feels like he has to fight for pleasure, he disconnects from the joy of the act. It becomes a battle, not self-care. That mental pattern alone can rewire the body's ability to relax and receive natural pleasure. So be gentler with yourself. Your body deserves that care, and your future self will thank you immensely. Speaking of disconnection, there's one final mistake that goes beyond technique or the body itself. It's emotional, even spiritual, and unfortunately, very common among older men. It might be the most harmful of all. Let's talk about it. Mistake 7. Masturbating without emotion, connection, or intention. This is the most invisible mistake, and often the most painful. It's not about what you do, how often, or where. It's about how you feel when you do it. Over time, many men start seeing self-eroticism as something mechanical, routine, empty, without real meaning. It becomes a silent escape from loneliness, or a mindless habit done without thought, emotion, or intention. I've talked to many men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who say the same thing. It's not like it used to be, or I don't even know why I bother anymore. The truth is, the body can still function, but the heart isn't there. There's a lack of connection, presence, warmth, and that emotional distance comes at a cost. Not just mental, but physical too. When masturbation disconnects from emotion, the nervous system is trained to expect pleasure without purpose. You might climax, but the brain and body don't release the same restorative hormones. You miss out on the oxytocin that boosts mood or the dopamine that sustains motivation. Instead, you're left with apathy, a shadow of what the experience once was. Even deeper, it reinforces the idea that pleasure is something done alone, in silence, without joy. But it doesn't have to be that way. Even solo touch can be sacred, mindful, and life-affirming, a moment of reconnection with an aging body. Not with shame, but with sincere gratitude. Your body is still yours. It still feels. It still matters. Many write to me saying they feel alone in this, that they've lost a spouse or been single for years, and I always respond. Emotional connection can start with you. It's about looking in the mirror and recognizing you still deserve pleasure. You still deserve to feel alive. You still deserve dignity in intimacy. Now that we've explored the 7 mistakes, let's tie it all together. Because true transformation starts when you understand how to rebuild that relationship, how to reconnect with strength, confidence, and vitality at any age. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you not just as a doctor, but as someone who deeply respects the journey you're on. Over these 15 years, I've seen so many good men struggle in silence. They blame age, blame time, some even blame themselves. But the truth is, no one taught us how to care for the body as it ages, especially when it comes to sexuality, pleasure, and intimate connection. You've just heard the 7 most common mistakes mature men make regarding masturbation. None stem from laziness or ignorance. They're from habit. Decades of doing what worked without realizing the body, like life, changes. Slower circulation, a more sensitive prostate, a nervous system that no longer tolerates force or carelessness, a heart that craves not just sensation, but meaning. Let me be clear, there's nothing shameful about touching yourself, nothing shameful about seeking comfort, relief, or even joy through your own body. What becomes dangerous is when we stop paying attention, when we rush, disconnect, or assume what worked before will always work. See, each of these mistakes has one thing in common: disconnection. That's the real threat. Not age, not desire, but the slow erosion of connection with your own body, your own pleasure, and your own vitality. The good news? It's never too late. Your body is still speaking to you, even if more softly, even if it takes longer to respond, even if things don't feel the same. It's alive and wants your attention, your care, your respect. It's like a classic car, you know? It needs a different kind of driving with age, and that doesn't make it less valuable. In many ways, it makes it more sacred, more special. So, What now? Start small. Be gentler with yourself. Be more conscious. Relearn the landscape of your body. Use intention, not autopilot habit. Curiosity, not shame. Stop chasing performance and start honoring sensation. Don't be afraid to breathe. Pause. Feel deeply. And above all, don't stop believing that connection is still possible with yourself and others. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, and even early 80s completely transform their health, intimacy, and energy when they stopped seeing aging as an end and started seeing it as change, as evolution. You deserve that shift. You deserve to feel truly again. You deserve to live with conscious strength and dignity, even in the most intimate corners of your life. Because in the end, it's not just about avoiding mistakes. It's about reclaiming the silent power that's still within you. And I promise you, from the heart, it's still there, waiting to be rediscovered. Now take what you learned today, apply it with kindness, and remember, your best years aren't behind you. They're in how you choose to live this next chapter, with care, wisdom, and pride. Conclusion and practical guidance. If this video helped you in any way, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another man who needs to hear this message. And look, a lot of people have been asking about private consultations. If you want to talk with me, I left the link in the video description. Let's journey toward reconnection and health together. Hugs, and see you in the next video.